In this episode, we're going to treat data loss as a deliberate security topic rather than an unlucky accident. Many beginners hear data loss and think only about a stolen laptop or a broken hard drive. But in cybersecurity, data loss is any event where important information becomes unavailable, exposed to the wrong people, altered in damaging ways, or scattered beyond your ability to control it. The reason it matters so much is that organizations don't operate on computers and networks alone. They operate on data, meaning customer records, intellectual property, credentials, financial details, and operational plans. When data is lost, the damage is often not limited to the immediate incident because the effects can unfold over months through fraud, reputational harm, legal obligations, and ongoing recovery costs. Preventing data loss on purpose means you understand the real ways data escapes or breaks. You can describe the impact in plain business terms, and you can choose controls that match the risks instead of relying on hope. Today, we will explore how data is lost, what the consequences look like, and what control options exist across people, process, and technology, all without drifting into tool-specific instructions. To prevent data loss, you first need a realistic view of where data actually lives and moves. Beginners sometimes imagine data as sitting neatly inside a database, protected by a login screen, but in reality, data spreads. It exists in production systems, test environments, backups, exports, logs, caches, email attachments, screenshots, printed pages, and third-party services. It moves through sharing, syncing, collaboration, and troubleshooting, and each movement creates a chance for exposure or misplacement. Data also has a life cycle, meaning it is created, used, copied, archived, and eventually destroyed or forgotten, and every stage has different risks. A key mindset shift is to stop asking only how to protect the database and start asking how to protect the journey of the information. Many incidents happen because the primary system is reasonably protected, but a copy in an unexpected place is not. So the first purposeful step is mapping the likely paths data takes, even at a high level, because you can't protect what you don't know exists. When we say real risks, we should name the major categories in a way beginners can understand: accidental loss, malicious exfiltration, unauthorized disclosure, and integrity loss. Accidental loss includes deleting files, overwriting records, misplacing devices, and mishandling backups, which can make data unavailable when it is needed. Malicious exfiltration includes attackers stealing data intentionally, often by compromising accounts, exploiting vulnerabilities, or abusing access that was too broad. Unauthorized disclosure includes data being shared with the wrong recipient, posted publicly, or exposed through misconfigurations, even when there is no external attacker involved. Integrity loss includes data being altered, corrupted, or manipulated, which can be just as damaging as exposure because decision-making depends on data being correct. These categories overlap, and a single incident can include more than one, like an attacker altering records and stealing them. For prevention, it helps to understand which category is most likely in a given environment, because the best controls for accidental deletion are not the same as the best controls for deliberate theft. A common beginner misunderstanding is thinking that data loss is always loud and obvious. Some data loss is immediate, like a ransomware event that blocks access to files, but other data loss is quiet, like an exposed storage bucket that leaks data over time or a compromised account that slowly downloads sensitive reports. Quiet loss can persist because the organization doesn't feel pain right away, and detection signals might be subtle, like unusual access patterns or unexpected sharing links. This is why prevention on purpose includes monitoring and detection as part of the control set, not just locks and permissions. You want the ability to notice when data is being accessed in abnormal ways, moved to unusual destinations, or exported in bulk. Even for beginners, the concept is clear. If you only discover loss after customers report it, you are reacting far too late. The right goal is early detection of risky movement, so you can stop a leak before it becomes a breach headline. Now let's talk about impact, because understanding impact is what drives good control choices. The first impact type is operational. Losing data can stop business processes, delay services, and force expensive manual workarounds. The second is financial, recovery costs, incident response, legal fees, customer notification, and potential fines can be substantial, and fraud can follow if financial data or identity data is exposed. The third is reputational. Customers may lose trust, partners may tighten requirements, and future business can be harmed even if the technical problem is fixed. The fourth is strategic. Loss of intellectual property, competitive plans, or research can weaken long-term advantage. The fifth is personal. Sensitive personal information exposure can cause real harm to individuals, which makes the incident ethically serious beyond money. Seeing impact in these layers helps prevent the beginner mistake of treating data loss as an IT inconvenience. It is usually a business disruption and a trust event, and it often triggers obligations that extend far beyond technical recovery. Control options for preventing data loss can be grouped into three broad families: reducing exposure, reducing likelihood, and reducing blast radius. Reducing exposure means limiting how much sensitive data exists, where it exists, and who can access it, which includes good data minimization and retention decisions. Reducing likelihood means making it harder for accidents or attackers to cause loss in the first place, such as through strong access controls, careful sharing rules, and resilient system design. Reducing blast radius means accepting that some failures will happen and designing so the damage is contained, like having reliable backups, strong segmentation of access, and rapid detection and response capabilities. Beginners often focus only on the first family, like putting passwords on systems, but real resilience requires all three. If you only reduce exposure but have no recovery plan, one mistake can still be devastating. If you only rely on backups but leave access wide open, attackers may steal data even if you can restore it. Good data loss prevention is balanced because the threats are varied. One of the most powerful control concepts is classification, which simply means recognizing that not all data deserves the same protection. Some data can be public, some is internal but not sensitive, and some is highly sensitive and should be tightly controlled. Without classification, organizations either overprotect everything and become unusable, or underprotect everything and accept unnecessary risk. Classification doesn't require perfection to be useful. Even basic categories help decide where encryption is needed, where sharing should be restricted, and where extra monitoring should be applied. It also makes it easier to communicate expectations, because people can understand why a customer record file must be handled differently from a marketing flyer. A beginner-friendly takeaway is that classification is not about paperwork. It is about making protection decisions consistent and explainable. When the rules are consistent, people make fewer mistakes, and when mistakes happen, you can detect them more easily because you know what should not be moving freely. Access control is another core control family, and it is more than just having logins. Purposeful access control uses least privilege, meaning people and systems get only the access they need and nothing more. It also uses separation of duties, meaning no single person has unchecked power over sensitive data movement, which reduces insider risk and reduces accident risk. Access control also includes thoughtful handling of shared accounts and long-lived credentials, which are common pathways for data loss because they make accountability and containment difficult. Even without implementation detail, you can understand the security story. If everyone can access everything, then any compromised account becomes a data breach. If access is limited and monitored, a compromise might still happen, but the attacker's reach is smaller and easier to detect. So access control is both a prevention and a containment measure. Encryption is often associated with data loss prevention, but it's important to understand what it solves and what it does not solve. Encryption can reduce the impact of lost devices or stolen storage by making the data unreadable without keys. It can also protect data while it is moving across networks. But encryption does not prevent data loss if the attacker steals credentials or keys, because then the attacker can access the data legitimately through the system. Encryption also does not prevent accidental deletion or corruption, because encrypted data can still be destroyed. So encryption is valuable, but it is not a complete data loss prevention strategy. The purposeful use of encryption is to reduce harm from certain loss scenarios, especially physical loss and unauthorized storage access, while still relying on other controls for identity compromise, access misuse, and availability. Beginners become safer when they stop treating encryption as a universal cure and start treating it as one protective layer among several. Backup and recovery controls are the part of data loss prevention that focuses on availability and resilience. If data is deleted, corrupted, or held hostage, backups can be the difference between a painful incident and a business catastrophe. But backups are not automatically helpful. They must be reliable, protected, and tested so you know they can restore what you need within the time your business can tolerate. Backups also create additional copies of data, which means they can become another exposure point if access to backups is not controlled. Attackers sometimes target backups specifically because destroying backups increases leverage and makes recovery harder. So the purposeful approach is to treat backups as both a recovery tool and a sensitive asset. Even as a beginner, you can appreciate that a backup you cannot restore under pressure is not a backup. It is a false sense of security. Monitoring and response capabilities are the controls that bridge prevention and reality. You will never eliminate every mistake, every misconfiguration, or every compromise attempt, so you need the ability to detect abnormal data movement and react quickly. That might mean noticing unusual downloads, unexpected sharing patterns, access from unusual locations, or sudden spikes in exports. It also means having clear response steps, like isolating affected accounts, suspending risky sharing, and investigating what data was touched. The earlier you detect and respond, the more you can limit impact and the more confidence you can have in your understanding of what happened. Many organizations fail not because they had no controls, but because they discovered the problem too late to contain it. So purposeful data loss prevention always includes detection and response planning, not as an afterthought, but as a central pillar. To close, preventing data loss on purpose means adopting a realistic understanding of how data spreads, how it can be exposed, and what loss actually costs. The real risks include accidental deletion, unauthorized disclosure, malicious exfiltration, and integrity damage, and each risk demands a slightly different mix of controls. The impacts are operational, financial, reputational, strategic, and personal, which is why data loss is never just an IT problem. Control options include reducing exposure through classification and retention choices, reducing likelihood through strong access control and safe sharing behaviors, and reducing blast radius through encryption, resilient backups, and rapid detection and response. The most important beginner lesson is that data loss prevention is not a single tool or setting. It is a deliberate approach to managing information throughout its life cycle. When you understand the risks and choose controls intentionally, you stop reacting to data loss and start preventing it in a way that is predictable, explainable, and effective.
Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit DailyCyber.News.